I'm a 2.5-year partner and a shift supervisor at the University Way South store here in Seattle. I often think back of when I was hired at this company because I was really, really excited. I was told that employees got full access to healthcare, college, scheduled raises, and would be protected from discrimination. They would be given the hours they needed. For the first time in a workplace setting, I was told that my identity as a queer person would not just be accepted, but it would be celebrated. What I learned very quickly about these claims is that they were baseless and lies. My coworkers and I have had to fight tooth and nail to afford rent and groceries. Here in Seattle, they've closed 4 unionized stores after they voted to unionize. Yeah. I've watched as partners have had their access to healthcare and education stolen from them. They've cut our hours, understaffed our stores, taken down our pride flags, withheld our wages, and fired our organizers. Boo. Queer employees, trans employees, disabled employees, and employees of color are tokenized and quickly tossed to the side when the company no longer wants to see them. The National Labor Relations Board has found that Starbucks has violated United States labor law more than 200 times and is currently hearing thousands more cases. Boo. It becomes clearer every day that this company does not have our backs, so instead we've all had each other's. We as workers are resilient. We've taken our frustration and anger and turned it into worker power. Woo! Here in Washington State, 3 new stores filed for their union elections last week, joining with workers from Redmond who voted to join our union last month. Through shows of solidarity, from marches on the bus to strikes, it has been proven time and time again that the workers hold the power. And as long as we continue to fight, we will win. Because when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, you guys are so cool. Right now, we are raising the stakes and traveling across the country to bring our demands to Starbucks in a way that they cannot ignore. I've had the opportunity to ride the Starbus for 5 days, and the shows of solidarity that I got to witness are nothing short of incredible. I got to see as community allies and customers joined us in our fight all across the country. Just yesterday, workers and labor allies talked to thousands of customers at more than 400 Starbucks stores around the nation. And we're going to keep talking to customers directly until we win. I am so thankful to see you all here today, standing in solidarity with us in our fight as we bring this right to Starbucks' doorstep. The power we have when we stand together is unstoppable, and together we can achieve the future that we deserve. I am so excited to introduce our next speaker, April Sims. She's the president of the Washington State Labor Council and the first woman to be elected WSLC president and the first black woman elected to the presidency of an AFL-CIO state federation. Woo-woo! She's been an organizer and a labor leader in the movement in Washington for over 20 years, so please give it up for April.
Good morning. Listen, what is better than a march on the boss? Nothing is better than a march on the boss. I'm thrilled to be here. Good morning, everyone. My name is April Sims. My pronouns are she and her. And as mentioned, I have the privilege of serving as president of the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO. You can give it up for that. And I bring you messages of solidarity from the more than 500,000 workers we represent in Washington State, workers in every industry, sector, and corner of this beautiful state. And as the first woman in Washington and the first black woman in the country elected to lead out a statewide AFL-CIO organization, I know a little something about the power of the labor movement and the fight for racial, gender, and economic justice. And we are proud to join you in your fight for justice. And I want you to know that the labor movement in Washington State has your back. We heard that yesterday, workers and labor allies talked to thousands of customers at more than 300 Starbucks stores around the nation, and we're going to keep talking to them until we win. We've heard a lot about Starbucks and their union-busting strategy. Here in Seattle, they've closed 3 stores after they voted to unionize. And we know that the National Labor Relations Board has found that they violated more than 200 labor laws. Boo. But despite this, more than 8,500 workers at more than 340 stores across 41 states have joined Starbucks Workers United. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about workers fighting back, because workers will not be denied or deterred in their fight for racial, gender, and economic justice. And more workers are joining our ranks every day. Workers want a union, and they want a contract, and they're going to get it. We want Starbucks to know that we are ready to bargain. And starting this Friday, we'll be sitting right here at the roastery, waiting for Starbucks to do their duty and come and join us at the bargaining table. Because Washington is a union state, and Seattle is a union town, and in this town, we respect workers' rights, and we expect our leading companies to do the same and follow labor laws. Because if we don't get it, shut it down. 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 That's right. Y'all really are so cool. You really are. And now I have the privilege to introduce someone who knows a little something about the fight for racial, gender, and economic justice. She knows a little something about building power and fighting back. Representing Washington's 7th Congressional District, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal is leading on the issues that Washington families care about. A friend and a champion for labor, Congresswoman Jayapal chairs the Progressive Caucus and is one of the original sponsors of the PRO Act, which would ensure, you give it up for her. The PRO Act would ensure that workers, like the Starbucks workers we are here today to support, can organize their union and win their contract without all of the BS coming from corporate. I can say BS? I can say that? That's okay. That's okay. So y'all, give some solidarity love to the one and only Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
That's our April Sims. Give it up for my sister. Thank you. Thank you so much. April has just been an incredible champion for labor, for workers, for organizing, and it's a privilege to be able to watch her in leadership at the AFL-CIO. I want to start just by saying an enormous thank you. Thank you to all the workers on the Starbus. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you, Diana. Thank you to everybody that is organizing for collective power and for a contract, a fair contract here at Starbucks. I've been an organizer most of my life before coming to Congress. Now I get to chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus with 103 members of the Democratic Caucus as part of the Progressive Caucus. And what we understand is that what you are doing right now is using your collective power to stand up for better pay, for better working union organizing drives across the country, not only in the now hundreds of Starbucks stores that are voting to unionize, but also inspiring workers at other major corporations to stand up as well for their rights. So what you are doing is even bigger than a store. It is bigger than Starbucks as a corporation. It is really giving inspiration to workers everywhere. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, you've heard across the country, you've heard the numbers, Starbucks workers voting to form unions, giving workers the ability to organize, unionize, and collectively bargain. And in less than 2 years, I think April's numbers were even bigger than mine, so maybe I'm behind. I have 335 Starbucks stores in 38 states and Washington, D.C. Is that correct? Am I less on that? Okay, well, it's at least that, have successfully unionized. And just a few days ago, as you heard, 3 new stores filed for union elections right here in Seattle, joining workers from the Redmond store who also voted to join the union. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. And what has management's response been? Shamefully, it's been to bust unions. Right here in Seattle, you heard from Diana that Starbucks has closed 3 stores after voters at those stores voted to unionize, and the company has also continued to engage in anti-union tactics, including firing workers who are part of union drives. The National Labor Relations Board has found, you heard, that Starbucks violated U.S. labor law more than 200 times and is hearing thousands more complaints. And by the way, the Progressive Caucus held the line to get more money for the NLRB in the last appropriations budget so they would actually have the dollars to be able to defend workers who are organizing across the country. Now, none of this is slowing down the unionization movement within Starbucks. In fact, just yesterday, workers across the country led a day of action, educating customers on their demands and the union-busting tactics of management. But here's the thing, we're not just at any store today. We are at the headquarters of Starbucks, in the city where Starbucks was born, in the city that I have the great honor and privilege to represent in the United States Congress. And maybe you already know this, but a lot of people don't out there. The company started here in our town with 6 unionized stores. 6 unionized stores. And when it was sold to Howard Schultz, the union was dissolved. And the proposition from management, as articulated by Mr. Schultz at the time, was that if workers had faith and trust in management, they wouldn't need a union. Well, let's be very clear about something. Workers are clearer than ever that they want and need and deserve a union. They want a contract, they are ready to bargain, and let's be clear, too, that it is workers who have built the success and the brand of this company, and yet can't afford an apartment right here in Seattle or anywhere in the country, don't have guaranteed health care or a minimum of 32 hours so that you can plan your lives. And for the new Starbucks management that just came in, this is a huge opportunity to lead. Instead of fighting the union, this new management can show what it looks like to make real the value proposition of workers that it has touted for so long. What better show of respect to workers, the people that are called partners at these stores, than to provide workplace democracy? What better way to show respect to workers than to allow a healthy and constructive engagement between workers and management, the way that so many companies in Europe and elsewhere in the world operate? It is not an accident that wealth inequality has increased at the same time that unionization rates have decreased. And it is not an accident that here in Washington State, where we have the 3rd highest union density in the country, that we have some of the best pro-worker policies in the country. But even with that, Even with that, so many of our largest employers have turned their backs on workers, like Amazon taking state labor and industries regulators for workplace safety to court to fight them instead of simply making the workplace safer. How about just making the workplace safer? Or like Starbucks fighting the rulings of the NLRB around the rehiring of workers who were fired for their unionization efforts. These are lawsuits that are fueled by enormous money at these big corporations so that even government regulators have to spend valuable taxpayer dollars fighting big corporations from being regulated for the public good, rather than using those resources to invest in housing or healthcare or childcare. That's not a good proposition for anyone. And for a company like Starbucks that has built its reputation on its brand and employee satisfaction, it's a disaster. And what's more, we're not the only ones that see this. The investors see this. Even Starbucks' own broader workforce sees it. In October, Bloomberg reported that Starbucks officials presented the results of an internal survey showing that only half of the company's white-collar workers agree that the company acts in a, quote, ethical and responsible manner. And one of the top two reasons for that was the corporation's anti-union stance. So your movement for workers' rights and for a fair contract is making its way through the corporation, through our cities, across the country. And now, I feel strongly about this because I represent a city that shows that none of this actually has to be the case. In the early days of Boeing, and I'm talking the early days of Boeing, Seattle used to be called a Boeing town. And it was thanks to a strong union, the Machinists Union, and responsible management back then, that Boeing helped build the middle class in Seattle. Back then, right? That's right. Now, today we're seeing some new leadership emerge from corporations like Microsoft engaging responsibly with us on antitrust legislation in Congress, but also now having an organizing agreement that allows Microsoft workers to join the union free of intimidation and harassment. Starbucks can and must do that too. Any management that says, and I hear this all the time, we know better than you, workers, what you need, and you should be dependent on our generosity rather than responding to your collective power to bargain for yourselves, does not understand what democracy means. Does not understand what democracy means. Starbucks has that opportunity right now to treat workers truly as partners by respecting their push to form unions, to have their voices and decisions respected about what is important to bargain in the workplace, what you think is important to bargain. That is what we call workplace democracy. And that is what it means to form a union. That is what true partnership looks like, and it's what's needed to reverse the decades of failed trickle-down economic policies. An upside-down tax system. You know, in Washington State, we have the most regressive tax system in the country, where the people with the least pay the most, and the people with the most pay the least. That is upside down and wrong. President Biden understands this. That's why he's invested in a strategy to build our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. That's why he has brought some Starbucks workers and Amazon workers who are organizing to the White House to meet. That's why he's using his platform to raise the connections between unions and a stronger economy for everyone. That is why, as April said, I have been proud to lead the PRO Act in the House, despite it dying in the Senate because of a Jim Crow legacy filibuster that needs to be eliminated for all of the work that we need to do. And that's why we're finally bringing manufacturing union jobs back to America in every corner of this country. But good pay and benefits and union organizing can't be limited to manufacturing jobs. It has to cover service workers. It has to cover workers who earn the least, often workers of color, the poorest, lowest wage workers who make $6 lattes for other people but have to sleep on a friend's couch or forgo their health care. Shame, shame, shame. It is time for a change, and you are at the forefront of that change. As April said, Washington is a union state. Seattle is a union town. We respect workers here. We demand and will stand for, and I, as a member of Congress, will stand up and back you as you insist and get a fair contract. You are ready to bargain. I'd like to see Starbucks management at that table, because what we know is when we organize and when we fight, we win. When we organize, when we fight, we win. Fair contract. Now, yes, somebody knew what to say. Fair contract. Now. Thank you all so much.
Maybe not. Doesn't want to go. It's okay. Sorry. That makes sense. Okay, can we get another round of applause for Representative Jayapal? That was a fantastic speech. So, my name's Maya Hepburn. I'm one of the members of the organizing committee at the Seattle Center Starbucks that just filed to unionize this Friday. So forgive me if this is my first time kind of at one of these events being able to actually stand up proud as a worker who's in a store doing our best to unionize. We know that the stretch before this election is going to be arduous, but we're really looking forward to joining the fight for our rights as workers. When I first started at this company a year ago, I knew that unionizing was somewhat aspirational. It was something that was important and probably a good thing to do, but I didn't know if it's what our store needed, and I didn't think it was my place to ask. Since then, I've only come up with more and more reasons why my store and Starbucks baristas at large need a union and need the protections that a contract can bring. For me, that started a couple months ago after a truly exhausting shift. There wasn't any one incident that made the job unbearable. It was just the culmination of too many long days going above and beyond to make up for a lack of staffing and poor management from the top. I considered quitting, but it felt like that would be abandoning my friends and my coworkers, so I resolved instead to make things better or get fired trying. There wasn't any way that I could make things better within the structures because they were engineered to make us feel powerless. So instead, I reached out to Workers United and got that process started. For us, it was pretty easy to move quickly. Most of my fellow co-workers didn't need to be convinced. We were already sure we wanted a union, just nobody had felt like they could actually stand up and be the first person to bring their grievances. Retaliation was happening constantly in a way that feels illegitimate and demoralizing. Everybody had different stories about why they were upset with management, and every subsequent conversation just felt easier as we got more and more people on board, as we built our power collectively. We had people who even had to quit the job because they were not able to get their 20 hours a week to get their health insurance. They couldn't pay their rent, while at the same time somebody was overworked, couldn't work their second job when they needed to, just because they were not given the voice they needed within this company. So instead, we decided to stop waiting, to make it better ourselves, to work with the incredible people helping us organize through the union in general in order to get cards signed. And we knew that signing those cards wasn't going to be immediately helpful for us, just because Starbucks refuses to play fair. But we know that it's helping the store overall. Since we filed for unionization on Friday, everything feels brighter. It actually feels like the store is getting better. It feels like we can bring more energy, be more invigorated, actually give us the opportunity to fight for what is in our interest, actually give us the opportunity to guarantee a contract for our rights as workers. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do we want? A contract. And when do we want it? Now. What do we want? A contract. And when do we want it? Now. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's me. Hey, my name's Elizabeth Duran. I go by Liz. I've been organizing with the Starbucks Workers United campaign pretty much as near the beginning as we could. I work at the Reserve Roastery on Capitol Hill. I am so incredibly proud of every worker at every union store across the country who has been building this revolutionary campaign for almost 2 years now. I think everyone here today can agree with me when I say that, hey, Starbucks, it's time for a contract. We are ready to bargain, and our proposals have been in their hands for months and months, and yet they have not responded to a single line on a single proposal at a single table. So we are bringing the fight to Starbucks. We traveled across the country in this bus here, engaging with people across the country, showing that our communities are on our side and that the people are on our side. And as you all heard, starting on Friday, we will have a bargaining table outside of Starbucks' global flagship Reserve Roastery location, and we will be out there for a week highlighting our demands each day of the week and demanding that they listen and demanding that they come and bargain with us. So join us at the bargaining table, and we look forward to Starbucks pulling up a seat so that we can get to a contract. All right, everyone, repeat after me. See you at the bargaining table.